Okay, well, what's going on, movie lovers? My name is Adam. Welcome back to Admit One. My co-host, Sean, is unavailable this week, so I'm going to be flying solo. But that's perfectly okay. I know what I'm doing here. So, as you may have noticed, we were not here last week because, quite frankly, Hollywood was not here last week. It was the lowest box office week of the year. And there was just not a whole lot going on at the theaters. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was #1 again. So, yeah, we didn't see anything last week. But this week I did get to see something, so we're going to be talking about that. And the movie that I got to see this week was As Above, So Below. And if you're not a horror movie fan, this probably was not even on your radar. But as a horror movie buff myself, I was quite interested in seeing it, and so I finally did get to. And this is a found footage horror movie, yes, I know, set in the catacombs under Paris. Now, as far as I know, there aren't too many mainstream horror movies set in that location, and it's a very fascinating place I'd love to visit, even after seeing this movie. So, I was definitely interested from the get-go, because it was set there. But also, the plot of the film itself was kind of interesting to me as far as how supernatural it looked to be. So, in short, I liked it. I'm not the most or best objective horror movie fan. I tend to like things that more mainstream fans, viewers would not like. But from my point of view, I did enjoy it. Although it had its downsides. I'll talk about it. And this is actually going to be not a spoiler-free review, I guess I'll say. I won't spoil the ending, and I don't think I'll spoil the movie with some of the stuff I'm going to be saying if you're still interested in seeing it. But there's going to be little bits that I need to talk about. So the movie centers on a female character named Scarlet, I believe. And she's kind of I want to say a female Indiana Jones, but it's closer to a female version of Nicolas Cage's character in National Treasure. She, much like her deceased father, is in search of the legendary Philosopher's Stone in alchemical history. And her father kind of ran himself ragged and eventually to suicide in search of this thing. And so she thinks that she has finally uncovered the location, which, there's just so be it, is in the catacombs under Paris. And so after getting a ragtag group of mostly Parisians together, they trek down there in search of it. So I think like the first third of the film, when we're learning about Scarlet and her mission and getting eventually to learning the location of the stone above ground, it's basically a found footage National Treasure. I'm almost certain that the writer of the film watched National Treasure before writing it. Insofar as in one scene they break into a museum and they take a tombstone off of the wall, the tombstone of the guy who made the Philosopher's Stone, and they flip it over and use chemicals on the back of it to uncover a secret message to the location of the stone. I was like, you can't ignore something like that. But once they actually get down into the catacombs, that's where the film starts to pick up for me. I wasn't there to see National Treasure. I was there to see a horror movie. And I feel like this movie inspires or reminds me of three different horror films. The first is Grave Encounters, if you've ever seen that. Not so much as really the plot or anything, but the kind of supernatural forces at work, I guess, and what they do. It's reminiscent. If you've seen Grave Encounters and you know how kind of, not that the characters get lost, but they're kind of stuck, I would say, supernaturally. There are themes of that in As Above, So Below. And so I like that part of Grave Encounters, and I like that part in As Above, So Below. But I think it works better in that movie. The other film is The Tunnel, which is another found footage horror film about a group of intrepid characters going into an underground location that they really shouldn't be in, and bad stuff happening. I think The Tunnel does that better, again, but the As Above, So Below captures that kind of claustrophobic feeling. And so if you're looking for that, if that frightens you, it will definitely remain in As Above, So Below. And then finally is kind of more of the obvious choice, which is The Descent. Really, there's not a whole lot in common other than going, underground into a location that they shouldn't, and bad things happen. But there's also, I feel like this film was definitely inspired by The Descent, including a very iconic bit. For those that will see both movies, you'll know what I'm talking about immediately. And so the characters go down there, and there are scary elements to the movie. I mean, there are jump scares. There are definite jump scares in the movie, which I am not a big fan of. It's very weak writing, very weak directing, weak everything. Get rid of jump scares. You get one. That's all you get. But in addition to the jump scares, there are some creepy elements, not as many as I would like. There's a part very early on when they get down to the catacombs, when everything is still kind of relatively benign, I would say, but it's very creepy, and I was hoping they would call back to it throughout the film, but they never do, and it was kind of disappointing because of how creepy it was initially. And so, of course, the characters continue to get kind of picked off and whatnot, but I think the big spoiler here, and I would say my major problem with the film is they eventually do find the Philosopher's Stone down in the catacombs. I will reveal that to you. I hope that does not ruin the film for you if you plan on seeing it. But the problem is the mythology of this movie is very confusing. Like, this movie has kind of like, it's set in a universe where alchemy was, a very real thing, and the Philosopher's Stone was a very real thing. It exists, they find it, and it does kind of affect the world around the characters. But it's confusing, and if you don't understand it, the kind of final third of the film leaves you disoriented. As a good example, concerning the Philosopher's Stone is, traditionally, as far as my alchemical knowledge goes, the Philosopher's Stone is used to change ordinary materials into gold, I believe. And in the movie, it does much more than that, or so you'd think, kind of. At one point, one of the characters' arms gets kind of mangled up by some falling rocks. And so Scarlet uses the Philosopher's Stone and kind of like shaves off a piece, and suddenly the girl's arm is completely healed. And so you're like, wow, the Philosopher's Stone can heal people. And throughout the film, before they find it, she keeps implying that it can make you immortal, and it can keep torches lit for eternity, or something like that. Like, this thing is all powerful. All it really does in the film is heal people. And it only heals a couple people, and that's all it does. And it doesn't bring people back from the dead, it just heals them if they're wounded. And you feel, like during the final bits, you feel like this stone should be so much more like they've been building this thing up in the mythology, and this is amazing, it can turn anything and transmute, and you feel like, why doesn't she just use the stone to change the limestone to air, and they just, or, like a set of stairs back up to Paris, like it's Minecraft or something. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It leaves you disoriented, and it feels kind of like it shouldn't be in this film. Like, this film did not need all that. But, to bring it kind of all around here, I would say the movie on my scale is about a 6 for a horror movie, which doesn't sound great, but as far from my perspective, as a horror movie, it's decent. I would probably watch it again. It definitely has its downsides with the mythology, and the writing is very lazy. There's a lot of horror movie cliches, I would say, present, and the jump scares, but there are some creepy moments, and I am a fan of found footage. I know a lot of people aren't, but I feel for like a movie like this, being found footage really lends itself to the claustrophobia of being underground, like, you're there. I'm not sure if it would work as well with a traditional camera setup. Now, there are movies that have been very claustrophobic with a traditional camera setup. Buried, starring Ryan Reynolds, is a great example. But I like the found footage here, and a major complaint that people have with movies like that is, why are you recording this? Why don't you just run and stuff like that? But they kind of take care of that. That was not a complaint from my point of view. So if you like the setting, if you like just kind of supernatural things messing with people, in a location, if you like kind of, if you like average horror movies, you'd probably like this, although it has its downsides. So that's as above, so below. Moving on to previews of upcoming movies, coming out today, I believe, or yesterday, depending on when you see it, or whenever you depend on seeing it, is No Good Deed, starring Idris Elba. And this is another kind of thriller/horror-esque film in which Idris Elba plays a convict, I believe, and I don't know the whole plot synopsis. I've seen the trailer, but he is an escaped convict, something like that, and he ends up approaching a single mother's house in the middle of the night while it's raining, and at first he's just there to use her phone, but then the home invasion starts. And this movie is on my radar because of Idris Elba. Incredible actor, big fan of his, and this is really interesting to me because I don't normally think of him as such a kind of a scary, villainous character, He can definitely be very intense. I know that. I've seen Luther. But as far as just being basically the bad guy in a movie, he's not really known for that. I mean, I know in The Wire, which I have not seen, I believe he did play... Well, he played a character, I guess. But he played a criminal, I believe. But he was more of a sophisticated guy. This seems more like a rough and rumble, convict character. So I'm very, very interested in that because it's Idris Elba. I don't know. Home invasion movies have been kind of hit and miss from my experience. I think as a plot device, it's a very real horror. There's not too many stories in real life about demons possessing people in their homes and throwing them across the room, or people in William Shatner masks stabbing people, or Freddy Krueger. But home invasions can and do happen, and it's a scary concept for a lot of people. So I like that it's a real horror thing. But a lot of films kind of just tend to flounder with, where how long can you drag this out? How long can the girl or the woman keep hiding in a closet and hoping she doesn't get seen? So I'm curious as to how they'll balance that. But my optimism says that Idris Elba is not really in a position where he needs to take on random thriller movies to pay the bills. So I'm hoping he picked this movie because he liked what he saw. So I'm hoping that I like what I see. On to news. This piece of news is a little bit old at the time of this recording, but Dwayne Johnson was cast as Black Adam in the Shazam movie. And this is a character that I know quite little about, I would say. I know Black Adam was traditionally the villain, the prime villain of the Shazam, Captain Marvel stuff, but in recent years he's become sort of an anti-hero, I guess. And so my opinions on, Dwayne Johnson will come, but I guess Black Adam is, he's Egyptian, I believe, and Dwayne Johnson's kind of Black Samoan, so I guess it's kind of close. But here's my feelings on Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock. I believe that any character role, any character in a film ever would be improved if it was played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Just think of any role ever. Like Hannibal Lecter, Dwayne Johnson. Luke Skywalker, Dwayne Johnson. Indiana Jones, Dwayne Johnson. So I'm really glad that he is finally breaking into the comic book movie world. That really excites me. Because it is my dream. I lay awake in bed at night dreaming that one day they will make a film where he plays all of the Avengers. And they will call it The People's Avengers, Attack of the Jabronis. And it will win all the movies of the year for the rest of existence. But as it is, we have him as Black Adam in the Shazam movie. I don't know enough about the character to really say much about it, but I am glad I will see any movie with Dwayne Johnson, so it's really good. And speaking of large, intimidating men that I like to see on screen, Sylvester Stallone has apparently confirmed that he will be directing and starring in the final Rambo movie, Rambo Last Blood. We don't know really anything about this, but do we really need to know anything about this? It's Rambo. I'm going to go see it. You're going to go see it. He's going to kill a lot of people, and it's going to be amazing. Like, if you saw the Rambo, you know that he can, it's going to be it's going to be basically Expendables, but R, and just, man, it's going to be crazy. So, I don't know, like, the ending of Rambo, the last Rambo film, it did kind of leave off his character at kind of a finale. I think pretty much everybody thought it was the end of the Rambo series, but I guess Stallone is kind of hurting, especially after the last Expendables movie, and I guess he wants to show that, you know, he's not going anywhere. He can still make a big hit. The problem is, it's kind of, you know, the same thing. It's him shooting people, which is the same as Expendables, which we've already discussed people don't really want to see nowadays, except for certain people like myself. So I will definitely see it opening night. It'll be great. I heard rumors that he'll be taking out maybe like a Mexican cartel or something like that. Why? Because they deal drugs. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. All the Rambo movies are pretty good for different reasons. But yeah, Stallone, go do it. And so yeah, I think that's about it for this week. Hopefully I get to see No Good Deed. If not, The Maze Runner comes out next week, which I didn't decide to talk about because I know nothing about it. But yeah. We'll be back for more Admit One soon enough as the season starts to kind of pick up towards the holidays and more movies start coming out that kind of interest everybody. But as for now, I guess Guardians of the Galaxy will continue to top the charts. So, thank you for watching another week of Admit One. I hope you enjoyed my solo ramblings. I hope that my co-host will be back next time. But until then, I will see you later.